Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Cheers to 10-Year interview with one of our longstanding 17 Hats member. I'm your host, Amanda Ray, and today we are talking to Jaimie Dee. Jaimie, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump in and let's just learn a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, how long you've been using 17 Hats, how long have you been in business?
So I am Jaimie with Jaimie Dee Photography. I started photography back in 2008. I first found out about, I do weddings and portraits, so I wanted to mention that. I first came across 17 Hats at Shutterfest actually, back in 2015. I think that was like the first year I went. I think it was the second year that they were holding the conference.
And the first year 17 Hats went.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I just remember at the time that everybody was talking about you guys. I remember like Sal was like 100% like pushing you guys forward. And at the time, I had some kind of studio management software, but I wasn't really happy with it. And I never really fully like got to utilize it to its full extent, and it just wasn't very user friendly. So I was very excited when I heard about you guys and jumped on board at that conference actually in 2015 in the spring. And I've been using 17 Hats ever since.
That's amazing. We have so many people like when thinking about using 17 hats, they'll be like, I don't think I'm ready yet, or I don't know, should I wait? Should I, they get really kind of, I think, in their head about if they should start using it or not. I mean, hearing from you, you jumped on board quite quickly. What was your reason for making that decision quickly and, like just getting on board right away and saying, okay, I'm going to make this work for me?
So for me, looking at this type of software, I knew that it was something that was going to be an investment in my business and an investment in like myself as well. So everything. So I was already, again, trying to use some kind of studio management software before. And because I knew it was something I needed to be doing, I knew that I needed a way to keep me organized. And with like pen and paper, for example, I know that like I can do something really well for 5 minutes, but then I would drop the ball or I would forget to write something down or something would slip through the cracks always. So yeah, I knew that I wanted like a more like tech oriented type of solution. So I was already kind of looking around at different softwares beforehand. When I came across you guys, one thing that I was very excited about compared to the previous software that I was using was that the interface seemed very clean. I liked that a lot of people were talking about you guys. I liked that I could go to YouTube and I could look up instruction videos on like how to do different things. And I liked that there just seemed like there was a big community around you guys. So I was very excited. And again, like I already knew who you guys were at that point. I already heard a lot about you guys. I was really excited for like the clean user interface and just having like that big community around you guys.
Yeah, no, I love that because like I said, a lot of people they hesitate, right? I don't know if I need this yet. I don't know if this is the right fit. And they really do hesitate. And it hurts my heart because I feel like they're hesitating, but it's a detriment to their own business, right? The longer you stick with pen and paper, like you said, dropping balls, forgetting things, you can do everything really good once or twice. But after that, it becomes mundane and you just go faster and you just screw more stuff up. So I love that insight that you gave there. Let's talk a little bit about your business growth over the last 10 years. Um, how have you grown as a business, but also as a business owner? Because I feel like business growth only occurs as the owner grows. And so that growth in business knowledge, business in general, whatever it is, how have you grown, which helped your business grow over the last 10 years?
Yeah. I will say that at the risk of sounding like I'm sucking up too hard, I will
I
say
will
that
not take it that way.
um, having 17 hats manage a lot of like the legwork and like a lot of like the heavy lifting with all of like the emails and just even just having a place to store all of my email templates and creating all those email templates. I feel like it kind of opened me up and freed up a lot of time to be able to pursue new business ventures and new like different genres. So I initially started out focusing solely on weddings, and I was just like weddings, weddings. I really just want to do weddings. But the longer time went on, I realized I really kind of want to branch out. I kind of want to start dabbling in like more portraiture work as well. And I feel like if I was manually tracking everything with paper and pencil within our wedding photography business, I would not have had the mental bandwidth to start experimenting in new like ventures and new like concepts and ideas.
I love that because you're right. It takes so much to manage the clients that you already have. And when you get stuck managing them, you don't have the time to do other things. That's amazing. What is it like going over 10 years? You started out with weddings, you've moved into other genres. Where are you at now? Are you still doing weddings? Are you not doing weddings?
Yeah, so still doing weddings and portraits. And I think it probably took me longer than I wanted to like really
Mhm.
kind of dive more into portrait work. But lately, I guess actually since the pandemic happened, since
Yeah.
2020, I've also adopted doing more elopements into our wedding lineup.
Elopements have become a thing.
Yeah,
It's a whole new class. We're not seeing it just with photographers,
yeah,
but events, planners, venues, like all the things. Elopement is a budding niche.
yeah. So elopements and micro weddings as well. Micro weddings, it's like a
Wow.
baby wedding. It's kind of like a cross
Yep.
between the two.
It's so interesting how weddings have changed. I think anybody in the wedding industry has seen it change over the last 10 years. It makes me wonder what the next 10 years. I have my thoughts. That's a different podcast. But it's interesting to think about what the next 10 years will happen, will occur. And then when everything comes full circle, right? And when it will come back. So that's always fun. Um, as you have been moving and grooving over the last 10 years, let's talk a little bit about brand because I think when you're a new business owner, your brand is just your logo and your colors. And I'm not saying those things aren't important because they are. But how have you developed your brand over the last 10 years? And can you take me on that journey a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I remember doing some exercises like really early on in the process where I asked a lot of my friends, I asked a lot of people who knew me, like what three words they would use to describe myself or like what
Yeah.
they know about me or my brand as well. If they'd like worked with me and kind of hearing what other people said about me was actually really interesting. And of course, then we started collecting a lot of like client testimonials, client reviews, and seeing what people report on or what people say, like how their experience was with working with you, really kind of helped me hone in and realize, like, oh, wow, okay, so that's the type of experience that I'm providing to our clients. I have been told about my brand in particular that we are very buttoned up, that we're very, in the world of photography.
That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. um, but in the world of photography, when you have all these creatives and you have all these people who are very like just like I don't know, artsy creative types, like not that we're not that, but we are really more, I don't know, we're just very buttoned up in how we tend to operate and function. And
Yeah. I call this the non creative because that's how I always referred to myself. I'm not the creative one. Like I am creative, but I'm the non-creative creative. And people were like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense."
but yeah, so just very, oh, and then of course, like with how everything is run or how we run everything with 17 hats, it helps to keep that appearance of very just like buttoned up, very polished, very like put together. um this is actually another funny thing. When I started photography, I was in college. I was in
Wow.
college. I was very young still. Still. um,
We're still young.
but I always felt like I wanted to be bigger than I was. I always wanted to project that attitude of professionalism. And I feel like I just did it like 120%. And then, of course, when we started using 17 hats, it just kind of put the icing on the cake. It was just kind of like, from the client's perspective, it just really kind of amped up that professionalism and just kind of also contributed to that persona of just having like a more like buttoned up, polished brand at that point.
I love that because I think your brand is what creates trust. Like there's so many people that I talk to that's like, I'm having trouble marketing. Marketing is this black box. I don't know what to do. And always my first question comes back to is like brand. Like how are you creating your brand? What is your brand presence? Because I think brand is the very, very foundation of marketing and finding your ideal client and finding your niche. Um, let's talk a little bit about marketing with this because marketing is tough. As small business owners, a lot of people, especially creatives, we're very creative, but we don't necessarily want to go talk to everybody, or we have a really hard time kind of tooting our own horn and saying, "Hey, look at me." How have you navigated the marketing space as a solo business owner over the last 10 years?
Yeah, so like a lot of people will say that there's no one magic silver bullet. It's a lot of different avenues. Um, Partially vendor networking in the wedding space, specifically getting on preferred vendors lists, buddying up to planners in our industry, but planners and venues really for weddings specifically. With other genres, sometimes again your wedding clientele can spill over to your other types of family portraits, baby sessions, maternity sessions, family sessions, things like that. In our brand though, I focus a lot personally on SEO and kind of
Mhm.
dabble a little bit in paid ads as well. So yeah, I've actually been doing SEO for like ages and ages and ages, and it's like something I would do a lot actually.
Yeah, I love it because you have what I would call short-term marketing and long-term marketing. And short-term marketing could be your paid ads where you put a paid out there and you get instant gratification right there. Where SEO is it's more of a long-term game. You're doing it now and it might not pay off right now, but you know it's going to pay off in the future, which is I think it's so important to do the both long-term and short-term marketing. So I love that you brought both of those up because I think it's a fabulous mix of the two. So that's really awesome. Um, let's talk about processes because obviously I'm a process junkie. I love processes. I love automation, all of that jazz. Not everybody's brain can wrap around it. I know that you are also good at process and automation and all the jazz. So, how did you get into it? How did you start laying out your process? And why is your process important for your business?
Yeah. So I think probably initially I started out with just writing it down like a long time ago. Just kind of, I realized that I tended to follow a certain set of actions all the time, every time a new lead came in, how I would handle that lead. And I think initially, at first, it was just kind of documenting that and writing that down. So I had those processes written out. I think um, in addition to doing all of that, I eventually then transitioned into moving a lot of those into workflows within 17 Hats as well. Anything to save me time, anything to speed up the process, save time. At one point, I think I even went as far as like scripting like phone calls with clients and yeah, but yeah, so I love, love, love being able to automate things. And if anything can take less time, I would prefer it to take less time because that means we're more profitable, we make more money. So,
I mean, but that's the goal of business, right? I think a lot of times we forget that that is the goal of business is you're in a business to make money. You're in the business to serve. And I think time is definitely of the essence. And we hold that really close to us because you want to be as productive as possible, to be able to serve as many as possible, to be as successful as you can as a business. So I think that keeping that mindset, I feel like is so important in business. I love that you said scripting phone calls. When I speak with people or coach people, that's usually one of the first things I have them do is script lead calls because people get on the phone and they get so nervous. What do I say? How do I say this? How do I guide them? Or You got to love those clients or leads who want to tell you about their sister's best friend, blah, 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 blah. And now you're down a rabbit hole that's taken like 20 minutes and you don't know how the heck to get out. And once you're down that rabbit hole, you've completely lost them, usually as a client. They won't convert because their brain's just gone. So I love that you scripted your calls.
One of the random side jobs that I had, like coming out of college, was actually working in various call centers. And so, like in a
Mhm.
lot of call centers, they've already created the scripts for you. Sometimes
Mhm.
at some jobs, you could like go off script a little bit, but that's probably where the initial idea came from, actually, for me.
Yeah. And I mean, when you look at systems and processes, right, the whole point of a system is to reach success. And so creating that system, whether it's a script or a set of steps, you're just trying to reach that success. And that's what we're here to do. While I'm talking about success, what is your version of success? Because for me, every business owner I talk to, everybody has their own metric for success. Some people are work life balance, some people
Mhm.
are financial, some people is like, I just want to pay for summer vacation with my kids. Everybody has a different level of success and all of it is respected. What's yours?
I think for me, definitely work life balance, like partially like financial, partially work life balance, but just having like the lifestyle that I want, being able to do the things that I want to do when I want to do them. And yeah, like at one point, I think a couple years ago, I had a random opportunity to pick up and go to Scotland with my family. And I was in a position to be able to do so at the time. So I feel like just being able to have the lifestyle where, like, as long as my calendar is clear and I don't have any meetings going on or any sessions going on or weddings, then I can just like pick up and fly to a different country if I want or go do whatever. So I feel like having the financial freedom to be able to do those things, as well as not being chained from, like, I don't know, 8 to 5 every day at a desk working for somebody else. For me, it's really just being able to live my life the way I want to live it.
Sure. That's amazing because I mean I think that's the best of the best when you can go in and I don't use Scotland for example, but I'm like going to the grocery store when it's not 5 o'clock, right? It's gonna take you 20 minutes versus the hour. Yeah. Versus the hour, right? Getting off of your job and you just save so much time and living your life by your own standards, I feel like is the best of the best. Which is I think so important. So that's fabulous. Um, were there any times in your business that you were like, I'm done. I want to quit? And if so, what pulled you through?
Yeah. So I don't know that I've hit that yet. Like just
That's
straight up
good.
wanting to quit.
Yeah.
I will say that I've had like at the end of 2022, my dad passed away.
I'm sorry.
And it was like it was a lot to get through. Um, and whenever like there's any kind of like personal trauma, or if there's a death in the family, anything like that, it takes over everything, and everything that was important before is like no longer important. You drop polls, like you forget things. And so I think like through that time, like having something in place, like our 17 hats and having everything plugged in, I just felt like a lot of things were like either automated, a lot of things were taken care of for me. I didn't like have to do that much mental legwork to be able to figure out when I was ready to come back and pick things up again, like where to go, how to get started again, and like where to pick back up. That's, I don't know if that was what you were asking for, but
No, I think it's good because I think that, you know, we've all gone through something in life and business. And when you are a solo business owner and it is just you, right? Even if you have a virtual assistant at the end of the day, a lot of times it's just you. um, it's really hard to pick yourself back up from the down sometimes. And, whether that's just fear, frustration, and burnout or a death in the family. For me, it was the cancer diagnosis that I had. It's tough. It's tough to come back to it. But I love that because things were somewhat organized for you and somewhat moving for you, it made it just a little bit easier. Mm, that's good stuff right there, man. Um, all right, let's talk about mindset just for our last few questions. You know, keeping going for 10 plus years is not easy for most people, right? You have to keep pushing. What has kept you moving? What has kept you going all these years?
I think it's really just the dream of being able to do what I want when I want, living life on my own terms. Um, there were times, I guess, where maybe if I have like a slower year or like things are not as busy as I would like for them to be, I've always like thought about like, do I want to go back and get a day job? Do I want to like go back into the workforce? And the thought has definitely crossed my mind like once or twice. But just the idea that, you can make more money faster working for yourself than somebody else. And just not wanting to give up the lifestyle that I've created for myself with being able to go to the grocery store whenever I want before 5 p.m. or working out first thing in the morning and not having to go to the gym where like everyone else is there. But I think, yeah, just holding on to that dream of like having the lifestyle that I want and not wanting to give that up.
I love that. So if you're listening, that's another good journal. That's another good journal entry. What is the dream? What is the lifestyle that you want? And how can you create that? I mean, I think that's the big question. Obviously, 17 Hats has been a part of that for you and helping you create, correct me if I'm wrong, helping you create that lifestyle. But I think, starting off with that dream and what is it you want, and then building it. I think that's a part of the fun of small business, which I love. Um, Another question. If somebody was just getting started in business, they're in their first year, second year of business, what advice would you give them to get to where you are now?
So an early piece of advice I think that I had
Yeah.
was to do a lot of visualization in terms of like what you want out of your business, out of your life, to kind of paint a very strong visual on what you want that to look like. And then once you have that, you can start taking steps to go towards in that direction. Because if you never like create the dream, if you never visualize this, you don't really have any sense of direction, like where you're going. So I think that if you have a very strong like vision in mind of like where you want to go, how you want to live your life and have your business, I think that that's kind of like the first step in like knowing where to go and how to get there.
I love that. Dreaming is so important and visualizing. I don't think we do it enough as human beings of where we want to go. So that is such great advice. Jaimie, if anybody wants to find out more about you, um, where can they find you at on social media or on the internet? Where do you live?
Um, on just probably our website's the easiest way to find us, but it's just jaimied.com.
And then you're also a marketplace partner, correct?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am.
So you have a variety of different items in the marketplace. So if you're a 17 Hats member, you can go check them out as well at marketplace.17hats.com. Jaimie, I so appreciate you being here with me, sharing your journey over the last 10 years, being open with us about your dad as well and that journey. Thank you so much for your authenticity and just sharing your experiences.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much for having me.
And everybody who's listening, thank you for joining us. Here's another cheers to 10 years with 17 Hats. We're so excited to be bringing these to you. There's so much information. We love you. Thank you for being here. And until next time.